for this week's for this week's podcast, I've been a little bit out of the loop, but definitely had a couple things. I mean, last night's freaking crazy weather was one of them.
Yeah.
I mean, I think a tornado did touch down somewhere.
You know where?
It was up north to the northeast somewhere. I can't remember right now what the weather advisory told us and where it was, but
Well, looks like it claimed 9 lives.
yeah.
North Texas.
So North Texas then.
I'm not seeing the city name.
There was a small town somewhere up there.
This is Little Elm.
Little Elm. Okay, yeah, that sounds familiar.
Yeah.
Yeah, apparently that weather came fast, man. Like it was fast and very little warning. I know they were sounding the tornado alarms all over Central Texas. The municipalities they are equipped with them.
Yeah.
I know Killeen was freaking was a bit ominous, I guess, considering our last talk about freaking nuclear war and all this other stuff, you know.
I hope it's a different alarm.
I mean, yeah. I suppose. I mean, alarm or no alarm. I mean, freaking nuke hits. You just pretty much.
What are you gonna do? Take shelter? You're pretty screwed.
You're pretty much toast anyway. So, I guess it'd be polite. It's a polite thing to do. Sound alarm. You know, just to let.
Sure.
You know.
Like that false alarm in Hawaii years ago. I don't remember how many years ago, but you ever heard about that?
Yes.
The nuclear
threat alarm. Yeah.
Since everybody's cell phone and said like this is not a drill. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a big gaffe. Like they made a big to do about that one.
I mean, yeah, I guess it's polite, but it's pointless.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, it's crazy, but I know last time we talked about a bunch of things, and one of them we talked about was basically who's running things, and who's pulling the strings on old Joe, and who's pulling the strings, and why are we even in the Ukraine doing what we're doing, and
it's been a
steady
thing throughout our podcast.
Yeah, it's kind of like the prevalent thing that's on the news, and it's kind of like on the forefront of our mind because Russia pulled out of their nuclear agreements and established a red line, a do not cross line for its conflict, and basically dictated Crimea is the red line.
Right.
You cross into Crimea, and we got problems.
Yeah.
They will go nuclear, apparently. I don't think.
Well, they keep saying, but I mean.
I don't know. I mean, it's mutually assured destruction.
Well, that's the thing about the nuclear thing. I mean, there are several stories throughout history about nuclear war, like that close to happening. That close. And the people that were responsible for pushing the buttons refused to.
Right.
And those were Russian. Those were Soviet soldiers. That now the Iron Curtain came down and that news came out, those stories came out. Yeah, we were really close to it because the Russians were about to go nuclear. All their systems told them, it's like, we need to launch right now because we're about to get hit by United States missiles. And they refused to push the button.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that back then also there was the lack of confirmation of whether you actually have an airborne threat heading your way. Like the early warning systems weren't quite there, weren't definitive enough for a decision to pull the trigger on a new strike, you know, as there is nowadays. Now, I mean, hell, we're we're knocking out hobbyist balloons out of the sky. You know what I mean? Them things are not very big.
That was
So
a fun week.
yeah, that was slightly embarrassing, and
Got a real good glimpse of how sensitive our radar can be, though. One, to detect that balloon in the first place. Two, after that, and they figured it was a gaff, they turned up the game on their radar and started detecting shopping bags flying at 10,000 feet.
Old Timmy over there in his birthday party, you know, like,
Yeah.
I was like, oh damn, you know. I mean, it's pretty crazy. I mean, they definitely stepped up their game. They're trying to detect this stuff, but I mean, it's too little, too late, because this thing crossed over all of the United States and didn't get knocked out till it was over the ocean, and
yeah, it's probably allowed to happen.
It was allowed to happen, yeah, because Papa Joe over there is he's not in charge. We know he's not in charge. He said as much, and it just is what it is. I think unfortunately everything is starting to. So we're in the conspiracy theory realm until it's not, right? And that's
always. I mean, we can theorize whatever we want.
And that's the thing. That's what people make fun of Alex Jones for, all these conspiracy theories and stuff like that. And he's been right on a lot of them. And I mean, I'm yet to see a human chimera or whatever the fuck he was calling it. Like, yeah, he's like some real Island of Dr. Monroe shit that he was getting on. And
you're talking about the mixing people with animals?
With animals and whatever.
I remember something about that.
And that's why Goatman is running around and the New Jersey Devil and all that other shit. You know what I mean? So, I mean, look.
The thing, he called out Epstein like seven years before anybody knew anything about Epstein's little private island.
Yeah.
I mean, he called him out a long time before that news hit, and everybody called him, no, you're nuts. They're just rich people being rich people. No, they're child molesters.
Yeah.
And they have a ring of child molesters.
Yeah.
And they fly kids to an island to have sex with billionaires.
Yep. So, it's
and political types and whatever.
Yeah, and we're still waiting on the client list to be public.
Yeah, don't hold your breath.
I have a list, but I can't publish it on YouTube. It's just because it's not factual.
Well,
you know,
the thing
so it's former cops. You know what I mean? Like it's preliminary hearsay.
Not only that, how many lists are on the internet now?
I mean, there's so many, dude. There's so much speculation.
How much of it is disinformation?
I mean, it could all of it be disinformation. So the thing is that I can't, in good conscience, even if some of the people on that list are some of the worst already, I can't, in good conscience, publish or say anything of that a remark like that.
Yeah.
And risk being false, you know, being completely wrong about it, because it's just I'm not the investigating person in this case, if there is one, and it's just until I get verifiable proof, like something like irrefutable, I'm not saying nothing about the list. So at least the people in it, that from what I've seen, some would say that some of this stuff is public information already on WikiLeaks. It's just that WikiLeaks is the documents that were leaked. There's so many of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's always been the issue with WikiLeaks.
So many of them.
It's an entire leak.
It's an entire leak.
So you got to filter through the whole thing.
You got to go through it with a fine-tooth comb to find the scandals, and it's a massive document. Like it's I think
several thousand pages or something.
Yeah, I think one of my crazy friends sent me a hyperlink to the whole thing, like the entire PDF. I couldn't go through it, man. I mean, the page count was enormous. And I'm like, I'll have to Control F and look for something, look for something specific and start there. But I mean, another thing that I got on there, what I was thinking about, who runs this thing and who pulls the strings and all this other stuff. I found something that you may know, but the average Chinese person in the States, apparently, they don't recognize Xi Jinping as a president. They recognize him as a chairman. So
That's his official title.
which is
yeah.
the official title, right? So
It's passed down from Mao Zedong as chairman of
right,
the Chinese Communist Party.
right.
Yeah.
Politicians here in the States want to refer to him as the president of China and all this other stuff, but he's not a president. He's chairman elected by a board of directors and placed on top as a CEO, to run this thing. I believe that who runs this thing is China. For sure, like I've seen enough up until this point where if they're not in charge of leading, if they're not leading the charge in the New World Order and the Great Reset and all the other crazy things, I think all of it is part of one big thing that's happening, one major shift in society. I ran into this other thing as we discussed it a little bit, but and I'll get to this other thing that I got. So we were wondering what the hell we're doing in the Ukraine. Like, what the hell? What are we doing there? And as we started going around, I found that apparently freaking he has basically awarded contracts for reconstruction of his nation to this company called BlackRock, and it's literally the same playbook from the Bush Cheney era. George Bush, him and Cheney, former chair people of what was that company? Not Kellogg Brown and Root. Halliburton.
Right.
So Halliburton, and then after the fall of Baghdad and everything, and the switch into peacetime operations in Iraq, you started getting all these infrastructure services and life support services that were being given, and the contract war started, and companies were freaking bidding and winning, and a lot of them weren't even bidding at all, but one big company that got a lot of no-bid contracts right off the bat was Kellogg.
No-bid contracts.
Was a subsidiary of Halliburton, Kellogg Brown and Root, KBR, which if you're a KBR employee that's out there, I mean, look, I ain't got nothing against the KBR employees. I was a contractor myself, so it's for a long period of time, so I got no bones to pick with that company. It did fantastic work, so we got lucky with that aspect. That the work that they did put out, they didn't just not in the big scale of things. They didn't just steal the money and just leave stuff undone. They actually put out some work, but a lot of people worked their butts off over there. But to think that these people that had to renounce their high tier positions in these companies and in these boards didn't get any kind of remuneration for basically awarding no bid contracts to the companies they just left from is ignorant. It's just kind of almost naive.
Yeah.
So to think that this, if it looks like a duck, quacks like a duck, it's a fucking duck, man, and it's starting to look that way. And
that's the thing. I think we talked about last time a lot of the rhetoric going around about Ukraine and why the United States needs to be involved in Ukraine and why Russia did what they did because they're evil and they're being bullies and they're overbearing and the United States needs to step in because the Ukrainians are ill-equipped to fight this war and they don't have enough people and they don't have enough money and that's all a morality argument. Like I said last time, it's all a morality argument. It should appeal to your morals to help defend a country that can barely defend itself. It's defending itself just fine. It has received ridiculous support from NATO, from Germany, from England, from France, from the United States, in the tune of money, equipment. Now they're getting tanks they're not just getting Abrams, they're getting the Abrams, they're getting the Challenger, they're getting the Leopard 2, they're getting the NATO tanks. And this whole thing with BlackRock getting the contracts for reconstruction after the war, if anybody looked at all that morality argument rhetoric and thought, and I did too, I thought for a moment maybe this war is about something other than money. You're dead wrong. This war is about money, plain and simple. It is about cash. Cash on top of cash on top of cash. It is about money. If you're not in the money game in that circle, you're not going to get anything out of this except higher taxes. That's it. You're going to be taxed more on your property. You're going to be taxed more on what you buy and sell. You're going to pay for it. You're not going to benefit from it whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean it's and you see it. You see it in different aspects, like when you start making purchases of big ticket items. As a middle class family and stuff like that, like for instance me, sitting in just lower middle class there.
Mm-hmm.
We are one tragedy away from being poor. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's a lot of Americans that watch this are $400 expenditure away from living paycheck to paycheck.
Right.
So one thing that my mom taught me, is just always try to establish that buffer. So it's a race to establish the buffer for when the shit falls apart, which it inevitably will because you're not rich. So you can't throw money at problems all the time and fix them or call somebody, it gets fixed. No, you may have to actually spend some cash that's hard earned and hard to keep to stay afloat. Keep your head above water. But just what freaking that idiot in the White House keeps saying, a little bit of a breathing room. Let's say, shut the fuck up. It's like you don't even know what that means. But Americans are at that level. So let's say your car needs replacement.
Mm-hmm.
And you start looking at car prices. If your credit is not, it's not in the upper tier.
The mid to upper 700s.
Mid to upper 700s. I won't even go that far. I think with a high 600, like 685, 600 above, you're still paying a premium and interest. The interest rates have gone up. Significantly. Not only that, but people are looking at getting into payment plans now that for vehicles that could be 70 months long. Could be the standard used to be somewhere between 60 months. Like close to 5 years. I think it was.
Yeah.
Close to 5 years for a car loan, and usually by year 5 you were either paid off from that car, and you had possibly another 5 years to go with that vehicle before you had to think about replacing major parts or replacing the vehicle altogether.
Mm-hmm.
But you had kind of like a 5 year reprieve where you wouldn't have to be on a car note. We're sitting in an era where if you don't have the money to properly maintenance the vehicle that you purchased, you will have to be on a perpetual car note for as long as it takes, and that's not going to stop. Now, it's always been the adage that that security features in vehicles and stuff like that made vehicles a little bit more.
Security, safety.
We're pretending that people care about you.
The cameras that are installed
pretending that people
cars,
care about you.
The laser,
crumple technology and all this other stuff.
Rangefinders.
All these things that save people.
Automatic braking.
It's undeniable. All these things that save people. I've been in a major crash and several major crashes through my time, and I do really appreciate the pillowy embrace of a whole wraparound freaking, a full wraparound airbag. I was in a major wreck, 70 plus miles an hour, struck a deer. Center punched it. Wow. Normally, on a regular car, this would have been a problem, like a big problem. This thing deployed airbags, and I was just kind of like, yeah. I was like, came to a stop. I was like, that wasn't half bad.
Yeah.
Car's destroyed, but but hell, I'm no worse for wear. All these things have been created to save the client, but in the same respect, all these parts degrade. All these new technologies. Become obsolete, and what we end up having is these vehicles that are expiring just as fast as computers are. So
right.
They just keep going, and if you're a middle class family, you're looking at having to spend some major dollars just to replace a vehicle. I'm looking at car listings and stuff like that right now, and the reason I bring it up is because I was kind of looking at replacing one of my vehicles and trying to moving money around and see how it would make sense for me to get into a car note, and it's just like, nah, man.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna replace the bucket. I mean, keep fixing the bucket I got and just ride till wheels fall off, because these you're looking at, like, for instance, one of them that I looked that's fresh on my mind, the Subaru WRX STI from, and I wasn't gonna buy this car anyways, but I looked at it because I like the car.
Yeah.
2014 with over 100,000 miles an hour, over 100,000 miles. This thing's sitting at $23,000. $23,000 for a
From a
2014. 2014, yes. 2014 Subaru WRX STI, $23,000. We're over 100K miles. I was like, what? I have over 100K in my bucket right now. And that thing's worth, $23,000, bro. So I made the mistake of putting my name on the thing.
Yeah.
So it kind of like, so it incited a phone call from the dealership, and they called me. So I'm like, well, I have a little bit of fun with this dude, and just kind of, I was like, well, look, check this out, man. Can you drop that payment from what the computer told me, which was like $400 a month for 60 month? Can you drop it to $300 even, and I'll put $2,000 down? Well, I don't know if we can do that. I was like, okay, well, we can't do that then. Well, let me go talk to my manager. Nah.
Yeah.
Nah. I know how that goes. Yeah. Nah. I don't want you to talk to your manager. This is me telling you, I'll get that car off your lot today if you can drop it to $300 a month. And he wouldn't. He just, yeah. And the playbook is, of course, to go talk to the manager and come back with a counter offer. I just didn't let him off the hook. I'm like, no. Yeah. The guy's like, well, he must have had the manager nearby, because all of a sudden he's like, oh, well, can you put $5,000 down? I was like, $5,000 down on a $23,000 car? You fucking crazy? It's like, nah, man. If I have $5,000 down, I'm not buying a fucking $23,000 car with over 100,000 miles on it.
Yeah.
I'll take my $5,000 somewhere else and get a new one, brand new.
Yeah.
Come
That's
on.
getting ridiculous.
I was like,
that's the thing. The car that I bought was 2013.
Right.
It had 40,000 miles on it.
Mm-hmm.
I bought it, I think, in 2016, and I think it was like $12,000.
Right, but in contrast, and this will all tie in with what we're talking about. I tend to kind of fall off the get off the beaten path here a little bit, but I'll bring it right back to center. So all this stuff is on fuel vehicles. Now you run the numbers on EVs, electric vehicles, and straight up fucking cars. Do you plug into a wall, bro? $9,000 for electric car. I'm not gonna say the brand because it doesn't fucking matter. $9,000 for a 2018 with 76,000 miles on it. By the pictures, it looked relatively brand new, but it's full electric.
So the used vehicle price tag for an internal combustion engine is about 4 times the price tag for
because they're squeezing you out. And what I realized was that
there might be other things to consider.
Well, of course. Now this is me just cursory looking at it, at it like skipping the rock over the lake. I'm not really doing a really deep intrinsic dive on it. But what I saw was like my particular situation. I just applied it to my particular situation. All right, at about 35 to 40 minute commute every day. I really don't go anywhere else. Come here, record a podcast with y'all, go to work, kids, stuff like that. I mean, my travel's fairly local. Every now and then I'll maybe splurge a little bit and drive an hour, go somewhere, go to Austin, go to Dallas, go somewhere, whatever, and take a look at something and that I can't buy and then come home. But road trips are rare. So it started to make sense that an electric vehicle would probably be a good fit for me, for my particular situation, because I'm not going to the Grand Canyon in this thing.
Right.
So, why not, right? And I started looking at it, and I'm like, wait a minute, but I can't see the offset. Because I haven't done the math of the kilowatts that I'll be spending in charging this vehicle, and how that's going to impact my light bill, as opposed to the $35 of gas or whatever, $40 of gas or whatever that I'll be spending just to fuel up a regular, combustion engine vehicle. So what's the offset money wise?
Right.
One benefit that I could put on the pros and cons board was that I no longer have to stop at a gas station. So that's 10 minutes out of my day that I save that I don't have to mess with. So I just come home, plug it into the wall. That's it. I'm done. I'll go to sleep, wake up, go to work, unplug it, go to work. That's that. So, but what's the offset cost on my light bill?
Right.
So for you guys that are thinking about EVs and stuff like that, take a look at your bill and see how much you get paid. See how much you pay per kilowatt. Like for instance, I pay about 10 cents, something like that. I forget the exact numbers. Close to 10 cents a kilowatt, or 8 cents a kilowatt.
Kilowatt hour.
Kilowatt hour, yeah. It's about 8 cents, something like that. I think that's where I'm at right now. So it's not terribly bad. And find out how much kilowatt hours takes to charge a vehicle. And that's depending on how bad your battery is at this point. So you have to do several math calculations, like on an empty battery, how long will it take you to bring it up to 100%? Or if it's just a commute, let's say you spend 25% of that battery life on that commute to back and forth to work, how much are you really spending?
Right.
Or just calculate how long it takes you, because there's different charging times. So if you run that battery dead, it's going to take a little bit longer than say you got a 25% to go up to 100. Then at that point, usually some of these cars have fast charge and stuff like that, and you plug them in, and in a matter of hours, you're good. But if it's like dead, it could take 8 hours. Some of these vehicles. But you gotta kind of offset the cost and then kind of see, okay, well, if I'm sitting at $2.90 a gallon of gas, then maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm saving $3 a month. Something stupid.
Yeah.
But the fact that they've already tried to they've made at least a verbal commitment to squeeze out the consumer from these combustible engines and these internal combustion engines and your gas operated vehicles and make that move into electric. They're doing it through many different ways. Thing is that dealerships still have these cars in their lots, and they gotta get rid of them. But they're not budging on what could be money making for them. Like that's where I'm missing I'm not making a connection there, but it all plays into that same agenda of trying to be not dependent on fuel operated vehicles by 2035, which is what they've been claiming.
Good luck. I mean, and that's the thing about electric vehicles on the roads in a wide scale right now. It's impossible. The infrastructure doesn't exist to support those vehicles.
Well, that's the thing. But when China is telling you that this is what you will do,
so that's where you're going with it the whole time.
Yes. Yes. It all goes back to that. And I hate to be conspiratorial, but it ties in at the end, you see?
Yeah, I got you.
Because
but what so I could see a couple of investments China might have in a situation like that. So China got the contracts for the lithium in Afghanistan.
Right.
So,
Right.
yeah.
Right, here we go.
Here we
you
go.
know, we've
So,
talked about this. Yeah,
also,
yeah, yeah.
okay.
Right,
Listen, let me clear my throat.
right,
I need a drink because
right, yeah.
there's a couple of things.
Yes, get it.
One, China got the contract for the lithium in Afghanistan. So the lithium in Afghanistan is probably the largest. What do they call those? The
The
deposits?
Saudi Arabia of
Yeah,
lithium.
the Saudi Arabia of lithium. That's what they're calling it.
That's the metric
Yeah.
for which
So
large
deposit
quantities
or,
of things.
is it in a like gold? Is it in
Vein.
a vein? That's what I was looking for.
I don't know what they call it.
A deposit. We'll call it a deposit
I don't know
because
what
most
it's called.
minerals are in deposits. So I mean, they're calling Afghanistan the Saudi Arabia of lithium. So China got the contract to extract the lithium from Afghanistan, pay the Taliban, pay the Taliban whatever for the lithium, and then sell it on the market, turn into batteries, whatever the hell.
Right.
They also have the contracts in Congo for the cobalt.
Right.
Those are two very necessary elements to make large batteries.
Right.
Large, high storage capacity batteries.
Right.
Like the kind you need in a car.
Yeah.
Or a house.
Yeah.
So I see where you're going with that. And yeah, there's a couple of things that would lend evidence to that argument. China has a lot of the international contracts right now for the raw material to make batteries.
Yes.
And they have the factories that make the batteries.
So look.
So they're not taking the minerals out and selling them to like the United States.
So look, it's
so
not.
The US can make the batteries. They're making the batteries in China.
That's not, and the thing is, that's not the only precious resources in Afghanistan.
There's tons.
Yeah, I mean they have enormous copper deposits and enormous gold, and I mean they are very rich in natural resources. It's just that in precious metals specifically, and other gems and whatever whatever you use rubies for. But it's they got them. Yeah, they got them all over the place.
Actual use for rubies is lasers.
No, that's a lightsaber. No, it's a lightsaber crystal. Come on, you can't.
Those are kyber crystals.
Okay, all right.
We want to nerd out.
Okay, yeah, well, whatever. Well,
But yeah,
those
rubies are used for
crystals,
lasers. Realistically, they are used for lasers.
They got
mostly
them
for jewelry.
Well, they got them in Afghanistan.
Yeah.
The lasers for the fucking the lightsabers. That shit. They got everything down there. They got everything down there. So So China's a major player in this. Not only that, but they've been exploring and securing contracts for mining all over the world, all over South America, all over Africa, all over the place. And they've been
big into Africa.
They've been pushing it pretty big.
People want to complain about imperialism. Look at China.
I mean,
it's doing economic imperialism.
Yeah, economic imperialism, which is about as smart as you could possibly do it. If you were to, they're starting to replace the dollar in a lot of different markets, small, mind you, but they're starting to get some traction in the international market. It's one of these things that when you look at the progression and you look at the arc, and these are things that. What's crazy is that I couldn't put this together, like two and two together, till like the other year, like last year or this year, when you're like, oh no, because I've been privy to this information about Afghanistan for the better part of a decade. Like I've known this for a while, and I just didn't see the point, because at that point back then, the only thing that used lithium was cell phones. Lithium was cell phones, batteries for other stuff, that weird Casio watch that never fucking dies, that the band falls apart and you still got the face of it just sitting there in a drawer. Freaking 10 years later, you go look for your wedding band, worn it forever, and there it is, a fucking Casio thing. Yeah. It's still there and it's still ticking because it's got a fucking lithium battery in there. It's going forever. There's little appliances that carry the lithium. Now we're talking about appliances, machinery that moves people, equipment, personnel, things. These are major, good-sized batteries, and they require coal, they require lithium, they require a bunch of other natural resources that are now going to be mined by China, which in the end will leave them holding the frying pan by the handle when it comes to natural resources, and when it comes to leading the way in this kind of switch from the shift from petroleum into electric. the thing is that we all know that it is relatively impossible to completely switch out of it. But
You talking about combustion engines or getting away from oil?
Getting away from oil. It's just
getting away from oil is impossible.
Yeah, it's impossible. It's just
combustion engines. I mean, maybe if you actually replace the power plant of a vehicle with something comparable in power and range.
Yeah, it's just that
that's the biggest complaint about electronic vehicles. They don't have the range that a combustion engine does.
Dude, but you know what's crazy? They sell them by range. Mm-hmm. So you'll get on there and you'll be like, all right, I need a Tesla Model S, or a model whatever. I'm not gonna say the S or whatever. It don't matter. That's the prettiest one of those freaking ugly ass vehicles. But they have the mileage selection, like how the range.
Yeah.
So you have to kind of like.
The range is denoted by the size of the battery.
Right. So you're like, okay, what kind of life I'm gonna live for the next whatever? That's the range that I gotta pick. You know, otherwise I'm gonna have to trade this thing in and get something with a little further range. You know, like it's weird. It's weird, but it's strange that I mean, there's electric Mustangs, electric pickup trucks.
Yeah.
There's a 4-cylinder Mustang out.
Even what was it? Last year, Biden congratulated Ford Motor Company for like pioneering electronic vehicles. Like, didn't even mention Elon Musk and Tesla, who
of course not.
Actually pioneered it and made a viable car.
Right.
An electric car, made a viable electric car that apparently out torques like anything on the road.
I've seen a couple of videos and stuff like that. I'm not too familiar with their 0 to 60, but you know how fast they are off the line. Because I stopped caring about that a long time ago because I'm a 40-year-old man, you know. So it's just kind of like, I don't know. I just want to go to work, you know. It's just I just want to get to where I'm going and just leave me alone, you know, that kind of stuff. So I'm not really paying attention to speed. I drive a couch on wheels basically, so it's, you know, I care less. Don't go very fast. But it's crazy because when you start looking at who pulls the strings and who does all this stuff and who's you start looking, China's got a big say in it. Mm-hmm. Big say in it. And at least with our policies, it's you know, with the Green New Deal and all this other bullshit and all this switch to electric, a lot of it's going to have to go through China at some point if they keep going the way they're going. But what are we going to do? We're going to go to war for lithium. We're going to go to war for, you know, like Avatar for unobtainium or whatever the hell, you know. We're gonna, you know what I mean? Like it wouldn't be the first time, but it's just like one of these things that there is no partnership to be had with China. It's either subservience, or
dominance.
You're either subservient or you're the enemy, and they are eating enough of the board to put you in a checkmate when that decision time comes. The choices are going to be pretty much you just obey or die, because they're going to have a hold of a lot of the major things that you'll need to keep your population up and going, except for maybe food. So,
and that was the argument for globalism in the first place.
Yeah, it's
make a globalist economy where everybody's pretty much dependent on everybody else, so that wars are averted and people get more fair trade relations, salaries, and money for their wares.
So it's
I got a whole book on it in there.
The what?
So I got a whole book on it in there.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, it's, dude, this is it's insane, man. Because then, so they justify this this conflict in the Ukraine by pulling out the heartstrings of everybody, and admittedly, I'm a bit on the fence because I gotta be wary of conflict where Democrats are for. That was kind of like when Nancy Pelosi gets up there, or who used to get up there, because she's no longer in charge of shit. That freaking non-contributing zero. But well, she gets up there and tries to, Ukraine, and the other freaking old cadavers that are up there are like, oh, Ukraine, but at the same time, they were like, oh, God, damn war in Iraq, or the hell with this war in Afghanistan, and all this other stuff. It kind of, like, huh? Why are you guys all for this and not for that? And then, of course, the Hunter Biden link was far too easy to make. That was just like, that's too easy of.
Yeah. Well, not only do you have the Hunter Biden link in Ukraine, you have the Hunter Biden link in China.
The Hunter Biden link in China, yeah.
Was going to China and making deals for Joe. Joe was getting a cut of his deals.
But
I mean, Joe couldn't be seen talking to Chinese different, but his son could, apparently.
Yeah, but I mean, it's like this, for instance. Find out where. Let me see. Oh, okay. Yeah, never mind. Staying corrected. All right. So they start talking about the humanitarian cost of the war in Ukraine and what's happening, what's being done, and blah blah. And one of my major arguments with people on the internet and whatnot, I let them go after a while because I try talking to liberals every now and then, and there's just no dialogue to be had because they're too deep into their emotions to think rationally. So, and I understand it because people are in fact dying in Ukraine, and there are lives being destroyed right now. It's that's happening. I don't support the attack on Ukraine by any metric, but at the same time, I gotta question our involvement, and they're not a significant trade partner of any sort. I think last time we did a little bit of research, we got some steel out of there, tops.
Yeah. Ferrous metals.
Some ferrous metals.
So iron.
They're not a NATO member.
No. As far as I know, we have no treaties with Ukraine.
We have no treaties with Ukraine. We're not guaranteeing their independence by no stretch of the imagination, but we are now.
Mm-hmm. Because Biden went over there, pledged $150 million worth of military aid and support. Right behind him was Janet Yellen. If you don't know, Janet Yellen is the head of the Federal Reserve.
Right.
Who went right behind him and pledged $1.2 billion.
Of your taxpayer money.
Yeah.
Without congressional approval, without a vote, without anything. Just.
Why? Because she's the head of the Fed and she controls the money.
Yep.
Yeah, for expenditures like that, you need congressional approval.
You should, but not no more. But who's gonna fire the first shot? Who's gonna fire the first shot?
In the Constitution.
But who's gonna fire the first shot? And that's the thing.
Yeah.
So we have gone to civil war for less. And I'm not advocating for civil war, but there's definitely need to be some checks and balances and some kind of some accountability. And there needs to be the playbook is already there, just nobody's following it, and nobody's really holding these people to account. And it's going to come to a head with this. I mean, somebody's going to do something.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about.
Somebody's going to do something.
I was actually looking into that a little bit about a week ago.
Nobody wants to be the first guy to pull the trigger on some crazy stuff like that, too.
So there's an argument that I was reading online
Or the second guy.
The Civil War has likely already started. It's just out of the news. The news is not covering it. The news is not saying anything about it. You'll hear it mentioned.
Right.
But the news is not giving it any kind of leeway. One of the big things that has come out on the news, the few mentions, is the firearms attacks on power substations. When you attack infrastructure, that's war.
Yeah.
Like, if you start seeing...
Yeah, but it started with that bombing in Tennessee. Was it Tennessee or Kentucky?
I don't know.
That big one that was in the city that hit that AT&T substation.
Good Lord, that was years ago.
Yeah, but it's still in the middle of all this stuff in the beginning of the Biden administration, if I'm not mistaken.
Was it?
Check the date on
I
that.
don't know about that.
It was that one with that freaking V-bed.
Yeah, I remember the one you're talking
It
about.
was sitting in the camper. Allegedly in the camper. The cops cleared the freaking street long before it blew.
I remember the one you're talking about. I still remember when it happened. But
I'm not sure who was in charge back then, but thought it was it's either towards the end of the Trump administration or the beginning of Biden's. But yeah, I don't advocate for that, ladies and gentlemen. Don't go out there and start shooting at freaking power station. That's retarded. There's that's a quick way to end up in freaking prison for a hot minute and have a couple visits from people you don't want to mess with. It's leave that stuff alone.
Right.
So, but yeah, it's illegal as shit because it's domestic terrorism. You can't show up to court going like Joe Biden is bad. That's not gonna work for you. So so don't do it. That's not. But I'll tell you, but that bombing. I mean, I don't know when it was, but it's but that's the one
in Tennessee, Nashville.
Tennessee. It was that's the one that comes to mind. They don't want to say it was.
I can't read it because I got to pay for their crap.
Yeah, but looking at the justifications for war, looking at the justifications for going into Ukraine.
December 25th, 2020.
See it? You see?
So that's the end of the Trump administration.
Yeah. And after the election.
Mm-hmm.
So I did a little bit of research and I go like, okay, well, where else in the world have people suffered and we've done nothing militarily? Right? Everywhere. So let's start here from earliest, from the latest and the greatest. So in 2017, from 2017 to present, this is happening right now.
Okay, so just in the last 5 years.
This is the last 5 years. Myanmar.
Yeah.
The Myanmar genocide. The highest estimate right now is 43,000 deaths. At the lowest, somewhere between 9,000, 13,000 deaths. It's been ongoing since 2017. Khmer Rouge and the government down there, they've been infighting there. So I think let's see.
But that's an internal conflict.
So it's an internal conflict, but it's ethnic cleansing,
right,
at a major scale. So it created an enormous refugee crisis, and that's still going. And the estimates are close to 1 million people displaced. And
so I know what you're getting at, but I mean, there's a simpler thing. The United States has never been a humanitarian interested country. Never has been. We would have invaded the Soviet Union a long time ago. The Soviet Union would have been nixed when we heard about the Ukrainians that were dying of famine in the 1950s, or the mass genocide that Stalin perpetrated in the 50s. And well, when did he die? Doesn't matter. The millions of Russians that were murdered by the government for no reason at all, or very little reason. We would have wiped out fucking USSR if we were a humanitarian, morally driven country.
that's what I'm getting.
North Korea, I know.
Yeah.
North Korea would have been wiped out a long time ago because they keep doing it, and they're still doing it. So I mean,
exactly. So and that's what I'm getting at. The humanitarian angle of poor Ukrainians.
Yeah.
Let's go in there.
but the counter argument though.
Sovereign nation.
Is sovereignty. So those are internal conflicts. Those are Russians doing it to Russians. Those are North Koreans doing it to North Koreans.
Mm-hmm.
Those are, what was that, Cambodia?
Myanmar.
Myanmar.
So
Those are,
whatever.
I don't know. People in Myanmar are doing it to people in Myanmar.
Right.
Those are internal conflicts. Are there any that cross international borders? Those would be valid.
Well, it becomes the intersectionality of internal conflicts and cross-border problems are exacerbated by the refugee crisis it creates, which creates as people flee these countries. When you get these countries are not like the United States where we can take 1.3 illegal immigrants and I don't feel a dent over here in Texas. It's at least where I'm at. If you're living by the border, you definitely feel it and you definitely see it. And if you're one of these politicians in D.C., which would send busloads of people over there to you, well, fuck you. Feed them people then, because if you want to house them and you want to be all inclusive and all this other nonsense, then take them, accept them, then, and freaking give them a place to live. But in any case, but if you're a small country like Cambodia, and you get an influx of 1 million people just crossing your border,
yeah,
I mean, your infrastructure could collapse as they have in Moldova.
Yep.
So
It's happening right now.
it's
in
happening
Moldova.
right now to Moldova with the people that got pushed. So that's where you can look at the sovereignty of a nation being threatened by its economy crashing as a consequence of the refugee crisis created by another country.
Mm-hmm.
So in their internal conflicts. So, I mean, why did we go into Kosovo? It's an ethnic cleansing. Slobodan Milosevic was
Mm-hmm.
killing ethnic people. This is the same thing. Now, I'm going to draw a weird, it's going to be a little woke, right? Not like me, but,
Okay.
um,
I'll listen.
right?
You've got
Right?
2 minutes.
Yeah. For the most part, these countries are minorities, like what we consider minorities in the States. They're brown people, Asian people. Those are these countries where these genocides are taking place, and we've done.
Oh, you're talking about like Myanmar and
and all these countries in Africa, whatever, you know.
Because we can go back 100 years.
Yeah, we can go back. And white people are all up in there. You know, I mean, white people have been killing each other since before any ethnic anything. But you know, the Islamic State, we actually got in the middle of that for the Yazidis, in northern Iraq and Syria. So we actually got involved in that a little bit, but the estimates are close to 10,000, a little bit more people killed. We're not really that operational in that area anymore. We still got people down there, but it's not the same. And Russians got in the middle of that, and that became a mess with Bashar al-Assad and all this other stuff. They tried to throw him off the government, and then we started giving guns to moderate. That turned into a whole thing, but that's a topic that we can spin into that in a different time. You know, that was in 2014 when it was registered first. That it began the genocide in Darfur, South Sudan. Talking about 500,000 people estimate dead, millions upon millions of people freaking displaced. It's all genocide, and it's happening to date. That's happening now. They estimated close to, I think it was like, last thing I read from the UN and USAID, some of the other places, they had some reports that were close to like 90,000 people that died just off the famine from these conflicts. Just basically starvation.
Right.
Just starved.
Non-war
Freaking
conditions.
non-combat related
Right.
freaking conditions that led to their deaths. It's crazy. So we've nothing. You know, North Kivu, in the People's Democratic Republic of Congo. So the Congolese genocide started in 2002. It's carried on to about 2003 or so, a little bit after. So over 70,000 people killed right off the bat. That's ethnic and religious cleansing. You know, it's about over 40% of the pygmies were freaking wiped out. Let me see, the Hutus in Zaire, 96 and 97. It was well over 200,000 people. Rwanda, over 800,000 people. Bosnia Herzegovina, that's just over 40,000 people, which we actually intervened in that. Somalia, we intervened somewhat, trying to
Somali Civil War.
the Somali Civil War, trying to get our hands into, try to grab Mohammed Farah Aidid. Fucking rest in peace, you fucking scumbag. And but the list goes on. I mean, it's we got the genocide in Iraq, the Anfal region, the Anfal province was about 182,000. Of course, and then you keep going back, and it goes further back into history of World War II and stuff like that, when we actually intervened for better reasons than just the deaths that were occurring. But the typical arguments that we have said humanitarian aid and this and that and that and the other. I was like, okay, that's great, but a bag of rice is very different from a fucking Javelin fucking missile system.
Right.
And
even in those countries that you mentioned, when the humanitarian aid got there, either from the UN or from the United States,
they were pilfered. They were pilfered.
Right.
By the victor.
Yeah.
So
or whoever was on the airstrip. Yeah.
So whoever was winning got the humanitarian aid, because UN peacekeepers and UN personnel that deliver this humanitarian aid are not there to freaking muscle with firepower, and they're there to deliver the supplies. So
they're also not there to distribute.
They're not there exactly.
Just make sure.
Make sure it gets there. So it got there, but then it just gave more political power to whatever faction controlled those supplies to rule and oppress the people that are already being oppressed, because now they control the food storages.
Yeah.
So, and that's what I'm getting at. If people want to go the heartstring argument, drop it. It's dumb. It's old. It ran its course. It's not true. It's just simply not fucking factual.
It's money.
It's money. It's always has been.
It's money.
It's always will be. It's money. You want to go into this stuff and blah, blah, blah. And, they care. Black people that are out there thinking that this administration is for you, they're not for you. They're not for me. They're not for white people. They're not for anybody.
No.
It doesn't matter. They're for themselves. This infighting, this division in our population has to stop. It has to fucking stop. I'm inundated every day with videos that are, and it's by design. Black people beating up white people on the internet in an overwhelming disparaging freaking of coverage. I'm pretty certain that there are fights, equal number of fights occurring of many different ethnicities or races or whatever. Right. They're happening. They're just picking these because that's going to enrage this other group, and then these two are going to start fighting, and it's going to keep that division going. Look, it's not healthy. If you're out there and you see a fight, you got two choices: either intervene or get the fuck out of there. Don't freaking sit there and film it, because you're pushing that woke propaganda. You're pushing somebody's agenda, because that video is going to get ripped. It's going to get pushed out, and somebody's going to benefit out of it, and it sure ain't going to be you. So, you see somebody being assaulted or something like that, be the best witness possible or help or something, but put the phone back in your pocket, because that is dumb. These kids are out there freaking filming fights and stuff like that. Is being used against you. You know, it's all being used as propaganda, and I see it all the time on Twitter, which is a toxic freaking wasteland of garbage freaking news coverage, and that's all you see.
I'm not on Twitter very much.
Yeah, I got heavy on it for a while. Now I just kind of roll through it a little bit every now and then, and just I close it out. I stop commenting on anything down there. It's just like there's that tidal wave is already going in one direction, and there ain't nobody turning that thing around. But to bring this kind of back, start making that left turn there, with this whole thing, how it all relates, and how it could relate, So you can't have just one thing that, as a Chinese corporation who's running a lot of these things and got their hands on everything, you can't really just have one focus for control. It has to be broad spectrum. It has to be all-encompassing in order for you to grab traction in many different aspects of society and life and culture and everything. I started seeing after, and maybe it's coincidental. Maybe. I don't want to, like I said, I want to be as unbiased as I possibly can.
But what you're arguing is that China's terraforming us.
Yes.
That's what you're saying.
Thank you. So, I started seeing Chinese products or knockoff products come into markets where otherwise there weren't any. So before, if I wanted to get a crappy product, I'd check Wish. I ordered off of Wish. It'd take 4 fucking months to get there, because it's like 4 guys in a damn rowboat bringing it to my house or something. Because I don't know anything that takes 4 months to cross the ocean except for a boat. So, and not even that. It don't take 4 fucking months anymore.
I'd have to look it up.
I'd have to look it up. It don't take fucking 4 months. I mean,
maybe a couple of weeks.
I mean, it ain't gonna take 4 months, but you order something on Wish, you forget you even ordered it, and then fucking
it just arrives.
Here comes your pocket pussy, whatever, whatever the fuck you ordered, fucking. So it was just weird, like so you wanted to get cheap shit, knockoff stuff. That's where you they kind of fit the bill. That's where you went.
Yeah.
I ordered 2 tablets off of Amazon. So I was like, okay, well, my kids are using these broke ass phones that we no longer use. They have no SIM chips or nothing like that. And they play Plants vs Zombies. You know, my kids are freaking fiends for Plants vs Zombies. They love it. That's about the only game they play. That one and Battle Cats. So they're on there playing with the stupid Battle Cats and whatever. You've had to sit through the tutorial for my son. And
for Plants vs Zombies.
For Plants vs Zombies. Oh, you ain't been through the 4-hour session there for freaking Battle Cats.
I'm not doing it.
You would have to. You're Uncle James.
I'll just leave.
So, yeah, they totally understand that. But, so I'm like, maybe, because they're sitting there freaking, like, these phones are small, so they're sitting there like, and they got limited exposure to that phone anyway, so it's only when they're at the house for a certain amount of time, and then we take them away, put them in chargers, and go do something else. So I'm like, maybe a couple tablets that are cheap, whatever, that'll work. So I ordered 2 tablets. Man, I'll be goddamn, man. Knockoff operating system on the tablet. It was Android, whatever.
Yeah.
Snow cone? What? No? What? No, it's just fucking Android. Plain, no Android 11, Android. That's it. Knockoff, like a motherfucker. And then I had to hold it like 15 degrees or so, from 10 to 15 degrees off center so I can get a clear picture. Because if I held it straight to my face, it looked like I was wearing 3D glasses.
So the glass was either
garbage, bro.
Thick or misaligned.
It was just, but it was cheap Chinese knockoff crap. And the other tablet, I'm like, well, maybe it's a one-off because the 10% rule, right? Threw it away. Threw it to the side. Grabbed the other one, fired it up. Same shit. I'm like, I'll be damned. Fucking rotated freaking 10, 15 degrees or so. There it is. There's the image. I can't expect a freaking 10-year-old to grasp that. So I'm like, fuck these, man. I put them back in the box, sent them back to Amazon, give me my money back, whatever. I don't want anything else from there. But I started looking, and we encountered that when we were looking for cameras for this podcast. We started looking for equipment. And these brands that are like you remember Nibes? Nibes, like in Iraq?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or Abibas?
Yeah. all the
like instead of Fubu, it's like Tufu.
Yeah, Tufu.
Yeah. It's shit like that. That's where. So we get on Amazon. It's like fucking Tobiba or whatever. It's like, what the fuck is a Tobiba? It's a fucking knockoff of something Toshiba made, and it's $200 cheaper, and it's claiming all these fucking little things. And I'm like, well, the reality is that you can claim certain things, and in tech, the way it works is there's just certain things that you can't measure with your eyeball.
Mm-hmm. So
when you start talking about 4K and stuff like that, your eyeball can't really discern it. So it's either high def or it's fucking blurry. So you're either myopic or you're not. You know what I mean? So it's one of those things. So you can't really, just by looking at it, it's like, that is fucking 4K. Yeah. Not really. Yeah. So...
you're getting that education on the gaming, and it's like,
exactly.
Frames per second is like everything. People going up to like 120.
120, no.
Your eyeballs can't even see past like 45 frames.
Yeah. Your eyeballs can't see past a certain fucking thing. That's why you go that's what. If you could see past that, there wouldn't be a boxer on earth that got knocked out because they see every fucking thing coming. So that's the thing. So we're starting to see these Chinese freaking goods. Which was fine. I don't fucking mind. I'm probably one of these shirts was made in China. I don't fucking care. I like them. Maybe my hat that I got here was made in China. Let's see. Where the fuck was this fucking hat made?
Taiwan.
Vietnam.
Yeah, close.
Yeah. So, but I mean, I don't mind that. But the thing is that that knockoff stuff is fucking illegal. The operating system with the copyright infringements. If I claim that this podcast right now is the fucking official Samsung fucking podcast of the fucking century, blah, 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 without any freaking backing from that company. Somebody, if we get big enough or something like that, or it gets shared, hell, not even big enough, if it gets shared through the right freaking grapevine.
Just cease and desist order.
Yeah, it's that's it. You gotta stop. You gotta stop doing that shit. So, Bezos' company selling this crap free, willy nilly, without any consequences, and it's there right fucking now.
Yeah.
And in the tech. So, that brings me to, do you know this company called Tencent?
Tencent.
Tencent.
Tencent. No, I never heard of it.
Tencent. So Tencent started, it's a multinational company now, but it started running this app called WeChat in China back in the day. So WeChat kind of like became after a while, it is to this day, the end all be all super app for everything in China. It is your Uber. It is your Alibaba. It is your fucking Amazon. It is your Netflix. It is your gaming console. It is your everything. So it's a one-stop shop app for everything that you could possibly need or want, because it's not need. Nobody needs anything that this phone has except for maybe knowledge. Anything that you may want from a digital platform through WeChat. So Tencent owned that company. Well, what that company started doing was start buying other companies. Mm-hmm. Now, we talked about, not on podcasts, we talk offline, just bullshitting you and I, like, about how long does it take to indoctrinate population, and like, for instance, as it related to Iraq, for instance, like,
indoctrinate them as to,
like, I won't say indoctrinate them, but just get them accustomed to a certain way of life.
not long.
Not long, but
So,
it would take.
Perfect example was COVID.
Yes, COVID. Yeah,
people were fine wearing masks.
Instant. However, that's but that had a catalyst.
Okay.
So
yeah,
but I'm talking about, like, for instance, in Iraq, for instance, when we were there, it would have taken, let's say, one generation to two to forget how bad things were when Saddam was there.
Okay.
We saw that while we were there. We saw that through our lifetime. We saw the shift from people being ecstatically happy of having us there and getting rid of Saddam Hussein and all the bad things and his sons and all the freaking corruption and the murder and all the nastiness that man was doing. And within the span of a generation, through many tactical and humanitarian errors that were made during that war, we saw that next generation grow to hate and label us as occupiers. It don't take much. So when a company starts purchasing assets all over the world that are mainly being viewed by children,
does Tencent own
Tencent,
TikTok or?
No, but they do have a huge stake in the video game industry.
Yeah, I'm seeing that.
Enormous. So they own Funcom, which is a Norwegian company. They own that one completely. Athlon Games, Digital Extremes in Hong Kong. They own that completely. Riot Games completely. Shark Mob out of Sweden. Sumo Group, Turtle Rock Studios, Wake Up Interactive, Inflection Games, Fulcrum Games, Supercell. Supercell, the guys that make that stupid fucking...
Yeah, they make gaming apps.
Yeah.
For your phone.
For your phone, yeah. Grinding Gear Games, Epic Games, 40%. Pocket Games, CLTD. I don't know what CLTD is. A Singapore company. Blobber Team, Marvelous, Shift Up, Netmarble, From Software, Keiko, Krafton, Ubisoft, 9%. Ubisoft France.
9% of Ubisoft?
Yep.
Wow.
Frontier Developments, Kadokawa Corporation out of Japan.
Okay.
Paradox Interactive, Remedy, Flash Tank, Miniclip, Tequila Works, Play Entertainment.
Gotcha. They do a lot of gaming.
Voodoo, Discord. They have a Unknown, stake in Discord. It keeps going. Activision, parts of Activision Blizzard.
Okay.
All of these report through a government proctor at some point. So
Yeah, because it's a Chinese company. Yeah. They have a
Yeah.
party member as part of their board.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
If not, their entire board is part of the party.
correct. So so
If y'all didn't know out there, that's just how Chinese companies work.
yeah. Period.
Yeah. A member of the Chinese Communist Party is a part of their board. Or their entire board are members of the party.
hmm So they receive funding directly from the Communist Party to operate. So basically, this company through their many, and that's just in gaming.
Mhm.
They own stakes in so many different companies. They have so many little arms everywhere. It's a fucking technological octopus that generates hundreds of billions of dollars a year. I don't know what their net worth is right now, but it's quite a bit. And I think they generate close to 90 something billion a year, something like that. That's what I read.
And it was like that. It was like their revenue for 2021 was 86.8 billion.
Yeah.
That's revenue.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, funded by China. That's just one of the many arms of that country and how they've stretched out.
Oh, it is not just gaming.
No. Oh no.
Television, cinema, comics, music, video
Yes.
streaming, virtual
So-
reality,
Yes.
e-commerce,
They're getting into meta. They're gonna be
healthcare, and insurance.
Yes. Yeah, it goes. I knew if I gave you the thread,
Data processing.
you'd be like, but I wanted to see your reaction off the bat because you're like,
Man, it's a huge company.
bro.
They're not making nearly as much as I think they'd make, though, with that kind of...
Oh, that's just what the internet's reporting, bro. It's a
Yeah.
Chinese company. Are you gonna get the numbers from China? Those are the numbers they're reporting in the West.
I wonder if they trade in the United States.
They
though.
do.
No, I mean on the market.
Yeah, well, not as Tencent, I don't think.
Chinese government partnerships.
So it's, dude, I'm telling you, they are a fucking hungry hippo, man. They're just out there freaking eating companies up. And,
So apparently there was a report back in when the company was first founded, the Communist Party gave them the seed funding to start the company in the first place. And
Yes.
That was from the CIA.
yes. So they control the live streaming for,
And they helped the People's Bank of China develop digital currencies.
Mhm.
Good luck with your crypto investments. Some of those cryptos are being funded by the CCP. Yeah. It's kind of an unfair fight.
it's a fight nonetheless.
I think China is pretty much the world leader in economic warfare. I'm pretty sure somebody else has said that before, but I mean, with everything they've been doing, everything they're suspected of doing, they're the world pioneer, the world leader of economic warfare.
How did Hodge twins say this damn good show? This is some sad shit, man. But I mean, think about it, man. It's fucking crazy, man. It's just absolutely bananas.
Oh, they got Blizzard too.
Yes, sir. Activision Blizzard. They don't own all of it, but they own enough to put a fucking panda in the damn. I mean, where you think that came from? You know, come on, man. This shift towards normalizing Chinese culture in American cinema and American television, I'm not opposed to it.
And see, that's the
But-
thing. I wouldn't have a problem
But
with
I know
any
what the-
Chinese culture.
But
if
I
it
know what
weren't
the
for
aim
Communist
is.
Party. Yeah.
But I know what the aim is.
Terraforming.
It's terraforming. So you'll see it. You're starting to see it here in Texas. They'll have Chinese opera doing.
I saw that.
Yeah.
I forgot what it was called.
Yeah,
But yeah, it was a whole opera performance.
Yeah, it's a whole opera performance. It's here in Texas.
2-hour show or
A
something.
2-hour show. This is all. The thing is that the aim of it is nefarious. the fact that you can bring in, get exposed to other cultures and stuff like that is it's educational. But we know that it's meant to condition
Mm-hmm.
the mind,
To normalize it.
to normalize the mind. So when this stuff is happening in your freaking main street in small town USA, you don't think twice about it. When a dragon parade goes around and you're like, oh shit, that's pretty neat. Yeah, neat, cool, yes, in its own context. But the real context is to condition you to get used to this kind of stuff because you're going to see it more and more. Mm-hmm. Right now, if I were to tell you that you should learn another language, that language should probably be the main language that they speak in China, whether it's Mandarin or something else. Cantonese.
Mandarin and Cantonese.
Mandarin and Cantonese.
But I think Mandarin is more.
I don't know which one overtakes the other, but it probably behoove you to kind of start picking some of this stuff up because
American, goddamn.
I
speak American.
But if you speak Cantonese, you'll get more rights in the concentration camp.
I guess.
You know what I mean? Because this is where it all ends. Because we're separated, we're divided as a population.
Just don't let yourself be captured.
Nah, man. I mean, they're gonna capture me. Have you seen me? Fucking like, that's the widest bush I've ever seen. Come on, man.
That's the thing. American history is integral on the Chinese people.
Right.
So in the early 1900s, they helped build the railroads out in California. There was a lot of Chinese people that did that. What were they escaping, though? Why were they here? They were escaping famine.
Right.
People were starving to death. And
so there's always been
oppressive culture.
Well, there's always been that, and that's the thing. There's always been a good relationship between Chinese people and Americans.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And there's a fundamental difference between understanding Chinese people and the Chinese government.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm getting at. There's nothing wrong with Chinese people.
No.
It's the government.
And I like their culture.
It's fantastic. They have the
Americanized version of their food is shit. But
yes. Shout out to freaking Panda Express. You fucking suck. So
I was thinking the other place that we went to.
PF Chang's or
no, it wasn't PF. No, it was some random. I think it's just called generic Asian buffet.
Yeah, that buffet shit.
Yeah.
Oh man, that was horrible. That was not cheesecake.
I don't know what that was.
Why would there be cheesecake in a Chinese restaurant?
I don't know.
We fucking tried it. I mean, it was not terrible. Cheesecake, man. It was terrible. Yeah. But, dude, I don't know, man. It's just like there's nothing wrong with Chinese people. It's just the Chinese government is doing these things.
And that's you see that in Congress too. Like you were saying, they want to call Xi Jinping the president. Right. He's the chairman.
Right. He's the chairman.
The other thing is there's always like the Chinese backlash of any American that gets on TV if they have any kind of clout or any kind of fame, and they say anything about Taiwan being Chinese or Taiwan being separate from China, they get a huge backlash. What's his name? That wrestler? What's that dude's name?
John Cena.
John Cena had that embarrassing ass cringy apology to China about saying something about Taiwan.
Right.
The history lesson, the whole reason for that is World War II. Mm-hmm. A lot of history can be traced back to World War II. International politics, a lot of it can be traced back to World War I. Anyway, in World War II, China, there was a guy called Chiang Kai-shek.
Yeah.
Chiang Kai-shek was the leader of the Chinese military that they were fighting the Japanese occupiers. They were fighting them tooth and nail. And not winning a lot of battles. Mm-hmm. It's just how it was. They had a lot of U.S. support at the time. There was another guy in China at the time. His name was Mao Zedong.
Yeah.
Now, which one's more famous? Mao Zedong was the leader of the Communist Party in China. What were the communists doing during World War II? They were hiding in the fucking hills, while Chiang Kai-shek and his men were fighting the Japanese. Once World War II was over, and the Japanese Empire was returned to Japan, then the communists came out of the fucking hills and decimated Chiang Kai-shek's military because they were weakened. There weren't that many of them, and they were ill-equipped now because they had spent a lot of their stuff on the war, while the communists had been piling it up, waiting for the war to end so they could take over China. That's how Taiwan came to be. Chiang Kai-shek escaped China and went into Taiwan and established a Chinese government there. Mm-hmm. That's why there are still some people in the American Congress that refer to Taiwan as China and not China as China. because they still see the Communist Party as usurper government.
Dang.
There's your history lesson.
Yeah. That's fucking dude. It's that's crazy because
But we didn't get involved there.
It's fucking-
Same reason, because it's an internal conflict.
right. But the thing is that we've involved ourselves in internal conflicts.
Yes, we have.
We have
Mostly by proxy, but yeah.
I put boots on the ground on one of them.
Special forces, which you can't really admit to until those
Oh.
guys are like 60 or 70.
Well, whatever. But I've been on the ground.
Yeah.
So, but it's neither here or there. The thing is that this thing coming full circle. Trying to squeeze us out of our vehicles, trying to push us into EVs, making freaking parts and labor and everything for petroleum, fuel powered vehicles freaking next to this astronomical costs just to even get them. Their dominance over natural resources that's beginning just now really to catch traction. Their outreach over social media and the indoctrination of the American psyche. The algorithms are different in TikTok. There's no
secret. Yeah.
That's no secret. TikTok pushes nonsense freaking videos
To Americans. Or to Westerners in general.
Westerners in
England,
general.
Germany, France.
And all the while,
Everywhere but China.
in China, they're not even allowed to do that. Hell, children are only allowed to play video games for a certain amount of hours during the day. Certain amount of hours every day. They're regulated.
Yeah.
These are some of the things that they're preparing themselves for something big in case it goes that way. But I don't see it going militarily because we'll be so weakened economically, and I see the conflict in the Ukraine with Russia and all this other stuff is just more things to weaken us on the long run militarily. I mean, they've been trying to take guns away from the American population forever. They're unsuccessful on that so far.
Right.
But
so far. The thing is, though, with China coming up like this and doing economic warfare like they have been, you're right, we're going to be weakened a lot. I think right now the Chinese are still a paper tiger. I think they're seeing what Russia has going on, and they're looking at their military like, we're probably the same way. But what China is doing is trying to take hegemon status. So when you have a conflict for hegemony, poli-sci lesson 101, hegemon is the most powerful country in the world. That's just what that means.
they're going to be the bank for the war.
Huh?
They're going to be the bank for the war.
Probably. Any change in hegemon status is a war. A fighting war. It's never happened any other way. Every time it's happened. When Rome lost hegemon status, there was a war. A big one. When England lost hegemon status, there was a big war.
Yeah.
When France lost their hegemon status, big war. When Spain lost their hegemon status, big war. Germany, big war.
Yeah.
These are all hegemons that have fallen. Now, right now, it's the United States. We have the most powerful economy, and we have the most powerful military. We also have more political influence in the world than any other country. That's still true even under Biden. Even though Biden is feckless and a puppet on a string, most of the other world leaders, most of the other world leaders know who's pulling his strings and still respect the power of the United States, the capabilities of the United States to affect your economy and to affect your military.
Well, the thing is that no nation in the history of recorded history of this planet has been able to project military might and power like the United States.
U.S.? Yeah, no.
It's never been done before that we can record it, unless we're talking. I mean, unless there was some other civilization we don't know anything about, but naturally, because we don't know anything about it, we can talk about it.
Right.
So, recorded history.
Yeah. Human recorded history. Yeah.
Human recorded history. No nation in the history of this planet has been able to project military power like we can.
Yeah.
We can go to any place in the planet in at least 18 hours or less and drop a freaking brigade of paratroopers on your head and try and kill you. Or not drop anybody at all and drop some ordnance. You put some warheads on foreheads, as the fat electrician says, and from anywhere. I mean, we had sorties being ran in Afghanistan and Iraq that were coming from friggin' Colorado. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Nevada,
it's
wherever. Yeah.
I mean, these guys can fly, go to Afghanistan, drop a damn freaking Moab in Kandahar, and freaking fly back, and 10, 12 hours later, be back at the house eating dinner. So, be back just in time to take the kids to school. This is crazy. No freaking nation's been able to do that in the history of warfare. Russia can't do it. They fly bombers over to Alaska all the time, and they have to be freaking escorted to go back. But I wouldn't doubt it. It's just they can't even make their way back if they tried. So their equipment is garbage. Their equipment's been garbage, and China's pretty much in the same boat. Their military equipment's trash. However, if it's any freaking indication, by the way they make those fucking tablets, we would freaking roll over the Chinese in fucking no time flat with a one aircraft carrier having.
Maybe that's part of the strategy too.
That's probably.
They're just telling you bullshit to convince you
bullshit.
That
So then when you go like, you're like, no.
And they're actually keeping the good shit over there.
Yeah, you're fucking sitting there with this fucking thing with paper mache. Come on, man. But the thing is that what they're doing is pretty shitty for us. It's great for them, I suppose, but it's all a veil. It's all a veil. And if anything that we try to do in this podcast is inspire research, just get out there and start reading on your own. Get out there, start looking at some of these things on your own. Look at multiple sources. It's all out there. Everything that I've talked about is open source. It's there. Start connecting the pieces. Entertain yourself, if anything. Just it helps pass the time, if anything. Just some of the stuff is good reads, and you just kind of educate yourself on the topic and see the if, whys, ands, and becauses of things, because it sure as fucking hell ain't because there are people who are sorry for Ukraine. So if you got a little flag of the Ukraine on your profile picture or whatever, and I stand with Ukraine, you're a fucking idiot. But you don't have to stay an idiot, and that's what we're getting at. You can educate yourself and freaking pull yourself out of that little box that the government and all these freaking the media has forced people in, and just break the paradigm. Get out of that. Do your research. Drop the damn emoji. It's fucking pointless. You're not helping anybody. And educate yourself. Or pick up a fucking rifle and go over there and fight. It's just, those are the options. Educate yourself or whatever. But putting a little flag on your profile and fighting with people on the internet over the merits of this war is fucking retarded. Because it's not about people. It's not about people. If it were about people, this should be over a long time ago. If governments cared about people, these genocides would have been over one time fucking go. The moment the freaking bubble went up on a genocide, it'd be done within hours. Like I just got done saying, we can project power anywhere in the world immediately, and who the fuck's gonna stop us? Nobody. We want to go somewhere, we go, and nobody can say anything about it. Nobody can fight us on it. If we want to invade a country, mind you, a small one, we'd probably do it whenever we want to. That's what I'm getting at. If it was about people, we'd be there helping people, but we're not, because there is no fucking financial gain on it.
Right.
There is no financial gain on it. So this freaking thing in the Ukraine is all a freaking proxy war for freaking research and development, for new warfare equipment and new battle-tested equipment for both countries, for Russia and for the U.S. Now, there's a lot of fanfare about that nuclear freaking red line and all this other stuff. I think it's just more inflammatory stuff to get more views on it. It's because it's literally the suicide button for Russia.
Yeah,
it's a suicide button for Russia, and
both countries have had the other cities targeted for 70 years now.
And we're exactly, and we're not and Russia and the U.S. are not the only ones equipped with nukes. So one big thing and one big freaking line that people aren't freaking talking about, them Indians that are sitting over there just kind of with their arms crossed, going back there like, look at these fucking idiots. Look at them. Because if you think freaking India's a punk, I hate to break it to you, them people are no punk.
Yeah.
So
they've been recently fighting the Chinese. Have you heard about that?
Yeah, they've been freaking kicking their asses up and down the fucking that damn freaking valley up north in the northeast of India for a hot minute now. I've seen the videos of the Chinese infantrymen crying their asses off because them freaking Indian Rangers freaking took them captive, and they're
the Indian Gurkhas.
Yeah, yeah. Come on, man. You ain't fucking with no Indians, man. Them people don't mess around, man.
Yeah.
Them people don't mess around. They're very tough, resilient people. So, yeah. So, like I was saying, the Indian folks that are up there, they've been whooping ass for a hot minute now, and they got nukes too. It's just that population is watching this thing very intently, but that government is watching this very intently. But
how many countries have nukes? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 countries have nuclear weapons.
I mean,
Vast majority held by the United States and Russia.
Right. But I mean, it is what it is. I mean, I think that in the end, that's nuclear warfare is just not as likely as they make it seem. But I think we've been in tighter situations in the past.
Oh yeah. But, especially with the threat to our homeland. Yeah.
So
we were closer than the Cuban Missile Crisis than we are now.
Yeah. So, but either way, just kind of research that stuff. It's just kind of what I try to get people to do. Just if you heard something new today, don't feel any kind of way where you haven't heard it before or something like that. It's just like I spent a lot of time consuming this information and just scouring through it because it's interesting to me. So find yourself some time and start reading on this kind of stuff and start looking and see if you can put the pieces together. The more you know, I suppose.
Yeah.
Just the more you think you know, the better you feel. But don't forget that whenever arguing with a liberal, just ask them why. Conversation usually ends shortly after that because they don't know why.
Yeah.
So your job is to know why. Is what I'm getting at. I don't care if you're a liberal or a Republican or a libertarian or a free astronaut or whatever the fuck you are. Why? Answer the why. Try to answer the why. If you know why, you'll get more respect out of anybody.
Yeah.
Because now you have a valid reason why. And Orange Man Bad is not good enough. Orange Man Bad don't care about anybody. He don't care about Republicans. He don't care about freaking Democrats. He don't care about none of y'all. He don't know any of you motherfuckers. He don't know anybody in this room. He don't know anybody in the street. I don't give two shits about none of us. Anybody that's narcissistic enough to run for president, don't give a fuck about you, me, or your dog. Don't fixate yourself on party politics. Get rid of that shit. Push it to the side. Pay attention to your friends, family. Do your research, and come together. This bullshit. He said, she said, black, white, gay, not. That's garbage. Propaganda. Keep you separated so they can conquer you and make you subservient in the end. You may not see it, but your kids will. So it may not happen in your lifetime, but it's just a snowball.
It's getting worse and worse.
It's just a snowball. So, yeah.
I don't know if it's going to get any better anytime soon, but
yeah.
I don't think in our lifetime we've never seen this country this divided. It's ridiculous.
Well, I mean,
on any line you can
this has happened before, just on other lines. It's just happened before. I mean, this is just a kind of like a version of Carter, so who apparently hasn't died yet. I don't know.
No.
So, it's part of the cycle. It's going to snap back, but But the thing is, it's going to get a lot worse before it gets better.
Yeah.
And hopefully, it don't get too much worse. But we're not even. This is the tip of the iceberg. That's how I feel. But that's all we got for this week. We've discussed quite a bit. So just kind of, like, subscribe, follow us, comment, share it. Follow us on social media. We're on Facebook. We share this on Rumble as well. So follow us on Rumble. Eddie's Cast on YouTube. Rumble's the same thing. Same thing on Facebook. So like, subscribe, and hit us up. We got our email address on there at the end. So if you guys got any questions or got anything like that, we try to answer the comments. We
Questions, comments, feedback.
Feedback. If you guys wanna, if there's any topics or anything you want to add, or if you want to give us some material to freaking chew through, or something that you research,
Something interesting.
something that you research that you find, we'll give you credit for it. Put you on there. So we're kind of getting used to these new cameras that we got in, and a little better of an angle, better.
Yeah.
You know, where it's not so much in your face, you know, because
Direct on.
yeah. So we're able to kind of have a little conversation and stuff like that. So we're progressing slowly but surely. But yeah, just like, subscribe, and see you guys next week.